What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another live stream. Happy Friday, people. The weekend is here, and unfortunately, though, there's no Arsenal games to get excited about, but the sun is shining, weather is sweet, as Bob Marley once said. And England are playing tonight, not the, well, I'm not sure I'll be watching that, but there are a few international games to get stuck into this weekend. Big up to everyone tuned in. Make sure you like the video, subscribe. Thank you very much for supporting the channel on a daily basis, as you always do. Really appreciate that. Big up everyone who's been following on TikTok as well. And let's get into today's show, people. Let's hope today is better than yesterday. Yesterday I sat here and I said, listen, you're going to have to prepare yourself for a bad stream. You know, Havertz was close. Caicedo to Chelsea, Declan Rice bid rejected. That was a tough day at the office. Let's hope today is a little bit better and we make some sort of progress when it comes to transfers. It's Friday again. It's Saturday, Sunday. Yo, it's Friday again, people. Just sold my car and we buy any car. Yeah, anyway, let me stop before they do me on copyright. But anyway, let's move on. We'll be linked with different names today and some of the same names. We'll talk about it again. I just sit there sometimes with Arsenal and I think to myself, just sold my car to Lucas Paqueta. I like that one, Wasim. I just think to myself, why do Arsenal constantly get offers rejected? I understand that negotiation has to take place. You're trying to buy players for, £100 million. There's going to have to be negotiation involved. But why are we... I don't turn on Sky and see Manchester City getting bids rejected left, right and centre. I just don't see it. Liverpool are often linked with a player for a few days. Gakpo came out of nowhere. McAllister got tied up quickly. Arsenal need to change the narrative. We're changing in the Premier League. We've got a playing style. We're making progress. But in the transfer market, we're still not good enough. That's something that has to be addressed. Big up Curtis Collins. He says, big up C, wife's in labour and bumping the C unit in the delivery room. Big up, big up, big up. See, at least you can get the job done. You know what I mean? You've hit the target. Shout out from all the community. Big up yourself and safe arrival of your child, man. Big up. Let us know when he or she arrives. Ken said, big up Curtis, I'm sure you hate to be late, but you're so good at it. I definitely have to stop it. I got to be honest. It's a habit that I'm often not really late, but on here I always turn up a few minutes late. I need to stop that. I'm aware of it. Self-awareness is always the starting point, and then you build from there. Leading the race FC, we're interested in. We're edging towards. We're in talks with. We're progressing. Leading the race. If it makes sense, Arsenal won't do it, people. If it makes sense, Arsenal won't do it. Let's hope we do it and get the job done. Anyway, let's get into the show. Let me finish with this super chat. Alexander, big up, Big C. Hope you're doing well. Not going for Caicedo shows how ambitious or unambitious we are. Although I'd be happy if we get Rice and Lavia. Well, we're going to talk them names today. Caicedo looks as if that one is going to fall off the radar pretty quickly. USA destroyed Mexico, and big up Cecil, who's over there doing work with CONCACAF. Doing great work. Big up G, bringing life into a blessing. Come on, man. He is, man. Life is a blessing, man. Becoming a father or mother is the greatest gift you can get. Big up Ben Guna. Hope you're well, bro. And anyway, let's get into the show. We've got names to talk about. Let's start with some good news. It doesn't concern a new player, but it's one of the remaining players. Let's at least start from a place of positivity, people. Fabrizio Romano has said, documents approved, details fixed. William Saliba will sign a new long-term deal as expected after final talks revealed last weekend. Understand Saliba will put pen to paper when he returns from holidays. New deal until June 2027 with the option of 2028. Now, obviously, we knew this, but this is the here we go. This is the confirmation, signed, sealed, and delivered when he returns from holiday. Very interesting that Saliba has committed to the 1-year option. Arsenal very much now like to get a player 4-year contract, 1-year option, or 5-year contract, 1-year option. Now we know that Saka specifically said he didn't want a 1-year option in his contract and wasn't willing to sign for 5 years, only 4 years. Now, I'm not trying to stir any kind of situation or feeling towards Saka, but I think he did that so that in 2 years' time, if we're not where we should be, Saka can probably get out of the door, which obviously we hope that situation doesn't occur. But I think he gave himself that safety net of making it 4 years with no option. Saliba has committed to the option, which I think is fantastic because I was concerned about this contract, the relationship he had with the manager, and the fact that PSG and Madrid and teams like that had come calling. So this is fantastic news. 4-year contract with a 1-year option. William Saliba. And listen, that could be bigger than any player that we bring in this summer. And that's not me making an excuse, by the way, for incoming players. That, you heard how I was going on yesterday. Like Ish said, it was a mini meltdown already yesterday. But at the end of the day, he's as good as any player that plays for this football club, whether that's a new player or an existing player. I think he's probably the best young centre-back in world football. So to tie him down for 4 years with an option of a 5th is fantastic. So well done to the club on that one. Also, it's the end of an era, people. It's the end of an era. Today is officially the end of swag. Swag is over, people. It's done. No more swag. No more Fofty. The group has officially been broken. We're done. It's like when G-Unit broke up and games started dissing 50, man. I didn't know what was it. It was G-U-Not they was calling it. Fofty is over. It is official. Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Fofty has been released by Arsenal. Thank you for the memories, AMN. The most ice-cold penalty taker you have ever seen. Fofty is done. I can imagine the day that Mikel Arteta walked in and he went in that dressing room. And that dressing room was wild at the time. You had Oba, putting in Travis Scott hair extensions. You had Lacazette. His hair was disappearing. You had, Nicolas Pepe, the most laid-back casual winger you've ever seen. You had Ainsley Maitland-Niles, very laid-back. I don't want to play right-back, blah, blah, blah. It was all mad. And he probably thought, I'm ripping this team apart, man. This Fofty ain't going to exist. Moet said he was so bad at Southampton. Oh, is the background giving me a blue grill? I might have to change the background. Apologies. But yeah, it's over for Fofty. And Ainsley has been released. Again, for me, I think this is bad business. I'm going to be totally honest. I'm not devastated that Ainsley Maitland-Niles has left Arsenal. Because, let's face it, he's been on loan to West Brom, got relegated. He's been on loan to Southampton, got relegated. He went on loan to Roma, and Mourinho was saying he's not good enough. He hasn't exactly proved himself. And I actually think that Arsenal and Ainsley Maitland-Niles will be sitting there today going, we've both got this situation horribly wrong. I'm going to be totally honest. From Arsenal's point of view, we rejected a £20 million offer from Wolves, as Latte said. We could have got £20 million for him. No matter what we think of Ainsley, he's an England international. Now, yeah, he doesn't get picked on a regular basis, but when you look at what other clubs are getting for players, for a guy that came through the system, that's played for England, that can play centre mid, right back, right wing back, to get no money for him, I think is extremely disappointing. I have to wonder why they didn't sell him last summer. Why would you loan out a player with a year left? Why would you not have sold him? Literally, if you got 5 million for him, it's better than nothing. So that's 20 million down the pan, however you want to look at it. And from his point of view, listen, Hector Bellerin did his cruciate ligaments and he had a whole year at right back. He could have got his head down, learned how to play the position properly and had a big career as a right back. Trent Alexander-Arnold was playing centre mid for Liverpool. Nathaniel Clyne got injured. Trent's made himself a top right back, although some people don't rate him. I think he is very good on the ball, maybe not great defensively. So I think it's a missed opportunity for for Ains as well. But yeah, all the best. I'm going to change this background because people saying I'm getting a blue grill. The Champions League background is just blending in. It's all mad people. So where should we go? We'll go Saliba. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Whoa! Saliba! Right, let's move on. Fofty's gone, people. Big up Big C YouTube. Algorithm is not your friend. Are they still not doing the... Are you still not getting the notifications, people? I don't know why. Some people say they don't get the notifications. Just click the notification bell, click all, and it should let you know. But sometimes it stitches me up. Sashiv said, big up Curtis, Man United fan here. Man United is like Arsenal in the transfer market. And we are linked with Mount. Do you know what it is, though, with Man United? I'm going to be totally honest. Because I'm always honest about other clubs. At least with Man United, listen, no matter what's happening, it looks as if you're going to get the Qatari owners. There is no transfer that Manchester United can make this summer that is bigger than them getting no ownership. I would take a bang average transfer window to get rid of that ownership and to get somebody like the Qataris in. Because, okay, it might be short-term pain, but long-term you're going to be up there. And let's be honest, let's keep it 100. I'm not a big fan of Mason Mount, but in that Man United midfield, Casemiro, Eriksen and Bruno, he probably gets in that midfield ahead of Eriksen because Eriksen can't run. Casemiro's 31. You're going to need energy in there. So I'm not a Mount fan, and I didn't really want him at Arsenal, but listen, your ownership is bigger than any transfer. You've made big headline transfers, Ronaldo, Sancho, Varane. These guys didn't make that much of a difference. The ownership is the biggest thing. And your fan base have earned that, which is what I always say to the Arsenal fans. It shows what can be done when a fan base gets together and has a collective energy towards the club. Black, big up yourself, bro. These are the only signings we are making. Renewals, I hope not. I really hope not. McLovin said the Glazers spend big, though. Pogba, Maguire, Anthony, Sancho. I think with the Glazers, spending money is not their issue. They spend bigger than most clubs in the world. It's the system. It's the people you've got in place who are buying the players, negotiating the contracts, the training ground, the stadium. All of that is the issue. Man United are spending probably similar transfer money to Man City, but it's the people that you've got in place, the manager you're hiring, and all of those situations. And Arsenal, we're seeing the issues with that. You know, is Edu good enough? And Vinay and Richard Garlick and all these people, you know. Fitz in the building, hope you're well, bro. He said that this whole Caicedo and Havertz situation proves to me that from top to bottom, Arsenal are liars and cowards. The Kroenkes will never be serious. Fitz has kicked off the door as usual. But listen, I tend to agree. I'm trying not to go too crazy because at the end of the day, we still have a little bit of... We have a long time left of the summer and you never know. Stories can change and transpire in different ways. I think that often it seems to me like Edu is an opportunist. So I think he goes, for example, for like a Caicedo. He's got his money and in they go, oh, look, Chelsea are going to go to this. And he goes, we can't do that. And then an agent probably said, listen, I'm Kai Havertz's agent. He wants out of Chelsea. He'd be willing to stay in London. Chelsea will sell him cheaper because they need money for FFP. Do you want to take him? And he goes, well, you know, at least if I get Havertz in and we spin the PR machine for the next month, you know, people will start buying into it. Because that's what's happening on social media at the moment. And listen, in life, I'm a very positive person. Even though I'm very critical of Arsenal and the way they act. But I'm also a realist. And you're starting to see it now. If you go on social media now, there are a lot of Arsenal fans all of a sudden who've been slagging off Kai Havertz for the last 3 years going... Oh, I'd take Kai Havertz. What can Arteta do with him? Robin Van Persie. All of that. Sometimes you just got to call a spade a spade. You don't rate Kai Havertz and you don't want him at the club. We all hope that he does well if we sign him because we've got no choice. I didn't want Ramsdale. I didn't think Ben White was worth 50 million, but they've turned out pretty good. So that's part of football. It's not being a flip-flop. It's just an opinion. So do I want Kai Havertz at Arsenal? No, I don't. I think he's been a big flop in the Premier League for £75 million. But if we end up with him, I hope he becomes a good player. But I'm not going to start putting out tweets and compilation videos of 5-minute highlights of him doing well. This is a guy that's got 19 league goals in 3 seasons. Like, unless they can pull off a masterstroke and play him somewhere else. Big C off topic. What's your thoughts on the Zinni interview with Piers Morgan? I'm going to keep it 100 because you know me. I'll speak up on political matters as well. I haven't watched the interview, so I don't want to say too much about it. I always think for context, it's important you watch it before you give your opinion. What I will say is I've heard the odd clip, so don't quote me on anything. I haven't heard it. I've heard the odd little 10-second clip. It was very interesting that it seems as if he's had support from Arsenal, right, in that interview. And yet, when Mesut Ozil spoke up on very political issues and very real issues, the energy was completely different. If I speak, I'm in big, big trouble. And I don't want to get in big trouble. But all I can say, people, is if you're going to have that energy as a football club and speak about political matters, I expect the same energy no matter where it is. That's my opinion. I haven't watched the whole Zinchenko interview, so I don't want to speak up on what he's actually said because I don't know. I've seen 10-second little clips. It's very important I watch all of it. But the way they treated Mesut Ozil, I mean, listen, we know what it is. We know what it is. We don't have to say too much. I think the way they treated Mesut Ozil from a personal point of view, forget football, we're talking about life. I thought they let themselves down badly. And listen, people can say, you know, that lost them a sponsorship deal or whatever. I mean, listen, I'm not interested in that. You paid massive money for this guy. He stood by the club. You gave him a contract. He spoke up on a political matter and you disappeared and hung him out. So I'm sorry, people. Listen, I'm an Arsenal fan, but I don't cap because I support the football club. Life is more important than football. They should have stood behind him. They should have supported him in what he was saying. And they hung him out to dry. It is what it is, people. But yeah, in terms of Zinchenko, I can't say much. I am going to watch that interview tonight. I'm not a big fan of Piers Morgan, but because Zinchenko is speaking, I'll watch some of it at least. Yeah, people, listen, like I said, I got to be careful what I say about Zinchenko because I haven't watched the interview, but we know the energy towards Mesut Ozil, man. It was not right. It was completely out of order. So, yeah, but anyway, let's move on. But big up for the question, Alexander. Appreciate it. Guna ER said, happy Friday. Arteta out, Edu out, Krychenko out. I mean, listen, I'm trying not to get in that zone right now. It's only day, 3 of the transfer window. Things can change very quickly. Get Declan Rice signed. We'll all calm down. I'm sure people will be dancing outside the Emirates. Zinchenko's comments are a disgrace. Get him out. As I said, Shamor, I haven't watched it, so I can't comment on it really without having the full context. But I am going to watch it, and I will give you feedback once I've watched it. James, thank you for the super chat. Big C, Leverkusen Kai at Cam in a City 3-2-4-1 will probably work a lot better than Kai at striker at Chelsea. Also, Lavia and Rice at CDM sounds decent. Listen. The funny thing with Arsenal is when we're linked with a player that we really want, I always have this feeling that we're not going to get the deal done. And when we're after someone that we don't like, I'm like, we'll get that deal done. So because I don't want Havertz, I'm almost certain we'll get Havertz. You know, it just feels like that. I'm sorry, it's the PTSD. Listen, we're going to talk about Havertz shortly, but the reality of the situation is, if we get him, we've got to try our best to make him work. How do you get the best out of him? I think as a 10, he's a very good player. I think as a striker, he's absolutely horrendous. The problem is, are you going to play with 2 attacking midfielders and put that much pressure on one? What you could do is, I mean, you've got to get creative with your system if you're going to play him as an 8. I don't know if he has the energy and the work rate to do the defending in that Granit Xhaka role, or do you play one DM that would be Declan Rice and then play Havertz and Odegaard? I don't know. I think he's there for his versatility. If we get him, it is what it is. As I said, I don't really want him. I think it's asking too much of Rice if he's the DM, but I suppose what you would do, you would play with that box. So it's like a square that Pep uses. So what you would do, you would get Zinchenko into midfield to play as a second DM next to Declan Rice. So there is your protection. You've then got your back three of Gabriel, Saliba and Ben White. They become a back three. You've then got your two in front, and then you've got another two in front, which would be Havertz and Odegaard. You've got your two wingers then, which would be Martinelli and Saka, and then your Jesus. So there is a way of working it. This isn't me saying I want him, by the way, because I don't want him, but I've got a horrible feeling we're going to get him, and if we get him, you've got to make it work. It's the harsh reality of the situation, people. You know, if you get bread for dinner and you've got nothing else, you've got to make something work. You don't want it, but you might have to just have some toast tonight. And that's all we got. Toast Havertz, people. But I think that's the way we'll work it. Tactical, sure, man. Yeah, why not? Anyway, let's move on. Fans outside the community are PR machine zombies. It is what it is, innit? People want them perks. People want them perks from the club. The free shirt, the free tickets, the interviews. If you speak your mind, you probably won't get them. You know, it is what it is. Big up Marco, though. Big up SB. Let's be honest, Curtis. Do our fans really care about these owners? Because the protests after the Super League debacle, it's like they gave up. We was on the hype train, bro. Everyone was protesting against the owners at that time. So it was a case of, well, they're doing it, so I'll do it. That's all it was. Our fans weren't serious about that protest. Oh, yeah, Super League protest. 1 week. Oh, what should we do next week? All right, now we'll call it a day. And that was the end of it, bro. That was it. Big up Southern Goon. I hope you're well. Morning, brother. I see we are paying rival teams to fund their transfers again. It's the Arsenal thing to do. I mean, it's crazy that we constantly buy Chelsea players. I don't get it. If we're buying Manchester City players, even then I'm a bit like uneasy with it. But at least you could say they're at the pinnacle of football, and even their fringe players are pretty top quality, you know. But Chelsea, I mean, come on, man. I don't understand it. We've obviously got a good relationship with Chelsea. They probably love it every time that we turn up and make an offer, you know. James from AFTV was putting a positive spin on Havertz last night. Listen, James, a top guy. He's a top guy, and he's putting out content for the channel and looking at an angle if he joins. I have no problem with James. It is what it is. If he comes in, then we have got to try and do something. He's going to cost 60 million quid. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get into the bread and butter of today's show anyway, people. Colonel said they're laughing at us. A lot of Chelsea fans saying, please sign him. They don't want nothing to do with him. But it is what it is. There's always hope that the deal falls through, people. That's what I'm clinging on to. You know what? Let's talk Kai Havertz. It's quite simple. According to reports, Kai Havertz has agreed personal terms. It's as simple as that. That's where we're at with this one. Kai Havertz has agreed personal terms to join Arsenal. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to sign him, because we've agreed personal terms with Caicedo, apparently. We're not getting him. We agreed personal terms with Mudryk, and we all know where he is. So personal terms means very little unless you agree a deal with the football club, and the football club is the more difficult part of the deal. What we now know is that Kai Havertz is willing to leave Chelsea to join Arsenal Football Club, which is interesting because a lot of the rumours at the start of summer were that he only wanted to go back to Germany. But it seems Bayern Munich have backed away. Real Madrid don't want him. They're going for Mbappe. They've certainly got bigger fish to fry. And it looks like we're getting a free run at Kai Havertz, which I think tells you a lot about the situation. Yeah, clubs inquired and asked the question, but none of them are actually going to pay what it takes to bring him to the football club. Kai Havertz has agreed personal terms to join Arsenal Football Club. His current wage is around £220,000 a week. He is on huge money. Naturally, he costs 75 million. You're not going to be on cheap wages. £220,000 a week and a £60 million asking price for Kai Havertz. That's crazy. Chelsea must sit there and go, wow, Edu's on the phone again. They want Kai Havertz. Chelsea are in financial difficulty. They have a deadline of the end of the month. They have to balance the books. This is why Chelsea have not signed anyone yet. They finished 12th. They've got Todd Bowley. They would have signed players by now. The reason they have not signed anyone, because they need to sell players to clubs in England, because a lot of the transfer windows are not officially open yet. This is why Mount will probably go to United. Kovacic will go to City. Havertz, well, I hope he doesn't come to Arsenal, but he may go to Arsenal. They need money. They paid 75 million for him. In 3 years, he's flopped. He's got 19 goals in 3 years. I'm putting him in the same category as Sancho, as Anthony, as Nicolas Pepe, as Harry Maguire, as Lukaku. Super expensive players who have not been a hit. How on earth, in financial difficulty, after 3 years of being a flop, how can they turn up and ask for £60 million when they paid 75 million for him? He's been a huge flop. There's no way on earth that they should be only losing out on £15 million on this deal. They should be lucky to get 50% of what they paid for him. Okay, in reality, Champions League winner, you shouldn't be paying him. Honestly, in my opinion, you shouldn't be paying more than 45 million for him. 50 million at an absolute push, and I mean like with add-ons. He has stunk out the gaff. Madrid turned up and said, we'll give you 50 million. Chelsea said no. They go, well, you ain't getting no more than that. He stunk out the Premier League for 3 years. We're about to pay Pepe to leave for nothing. We can't even get 2 million back of the 72. And these men want 60. And they're in a mess. We should be turning up at Chelsea and going, we'll give you 40 million. And count yourself lucky because he's been terrible. 40 million. Look at Man United. They offered 40 million for Mount. They're probably getting for 50. There's no way on earth you should be paying 60 million for a striker who has scored 19 goals in 3 seasons. He scored 7 goals last year. Granit Xhaka scored 7 playing in midfield and got more assists. Granit Xhaka got more goal contributions than Kai Havertz, and Havertz started 30 games up front. I genuinely don't know how that happens. I really don't understand. But brace yourselves, people. That's all I can say is brace yourselves, because I have this feeling that this deal is going to happen. Madrid, they're going for Mbappe. Bayern, they're not interested. And let me tell you, Bayern need a striker. They've got Choupo-Moting up front. So if they're not willing to sign Havertz, what does that tell you about what they think about him? They're going for somebody else. We are going to get a free hit at him. Chelsea will reduce the price, in my opinion. And I think we're going to sign him. Sashiv said we're friends with Chelsea. Of course we are. We'll give you 60 million and you go and spend that on Caicedo, the player that we should have signed. Chris said, Curtis, we're going to walk away from the Mount deal if they don't take 50 million yet. And he's got 1 year left. So in reality, Mount may be a little bit cheaper than Havertz. Havertz has 2 on the contract. We love making friends. We don't need friends, that's for sure. We just need to get the players. He isn't a striker, Big C. He prefers Cam. He's out of position. I hear you on that. But unfortunately, in football, you're sort of judged on the position that you're playing rather than the position that you are, if you know what I'm trying to say by that. We've seen him play up front for 3 years. So when he has these conversations with Mikel Arteta, I just wonder what the plan will be. Where do they want to play him? I certainly... listen, if we do sign him, I think we need to adjust our formation and do something similar to what Manchester City do. And I don't like to copy the blueprint of Pep, but I don't see how you can fit Havertz into the Arsenal team unless you do that sort of square midfield. That's the only way, in my opinion, that you can get him in. So, like I said, you end up with a back 3 of Gabriel, Saliba and Ben White. Zinchenko goes into midfield next to Declan Rice. 2 DMs in front of the back 3. Then your 2 attacking mids, Havertz and Odegaard. Your 2 wingers, Saka, Martinelli and Jesus at the top. And you interchange. When we lose the ball, Zinchenko drops back into left back. And Havertz or Odegaard would drop back as well. I think that's how they will try and do it. but it takes a lot of work rate to make that work. So we'll see. Big C, who do you prefer, Eddie or Havertz? I mean, he's putting up Eddie numbers in more games. Listen, let me just keep it a buck. He's better than Eddie, but I'd probably rather give Balogun a chance. Let me avoid the question. I'd rather give Balogun a run up front than spend 60 on Havertz, because we've already got Balogun. And Balogun's just scored 20 goals in France. Havertz is better than Eddie, there's no doubt. But as a striker, he's not much better, if I'm being totally honest. So, listen, brace yourselves. It may happen. Let's hope it doesn't. Young Gunner said, if we get bigger fish to fry, Havertz for 70 million, this will go down as one of the most scandalous deals we've ever done. We are shocking in the market. Listen, I'm putting it out like this. If we sign him, we've got to make something work. I'm not going to... I've given my opinion of him. I don't want him. But if we sign him, we've got to make him work. I said yesterday, he's not a better striker than Jesus. He's not a better winger than Martinelli or Saka. And he's not a better number 10 than Odegaard. Do I think he can go in that 8 role where Xhaka plays? Probably not. I don't think he has the work rate or the defence or the defensive ability to do that. But if you adjust the formation and play that same Man City way, I do think you can get something out of him. This is the most I'm going to say. If he comes through the door at Arsenal, we have to try and support him. It's just the reality of the situation. Do I think Kai Havertz is a talented footballer? 100%. I do. We all saw that guy at Leverkusen. He's a baller. Playing him up front, he's shocking. If you get him in that attacking midfield role and you manage to find balance in that midfield, maybe you can get some sort of level of that Leverkusen player. I don't want him. I wouldn't pay 60 million for him, but I'm trying to cover myself here that if we end up with him, you've got to try and get something out of him. To me, it feels like he ends up on the bench for 60 million, which I don't get, but I'm shamelessly capping a little bit here. But if you get him in, I don't want him playing up front, is what I'm saying. You've got to play him attacking mid and adjust the system. Sachiv said, big up Curtis once again. We should do a rival talk show. It will be a pleasure. Yeah, why not? Why not? We'll talk about other teams. It might do me a break not talking about Arsenal. E. Ross said, is anyone really surprised? I don't think any Arsenal fan can be surprised. We've been shocking in the market for years. Miguel said, looks like Arsenal and Chelsea are playing online soccer manager, trading players, but they never buy anyone off us, do they? They don't buy our leftovers. You never see Chelsea turn up and go, we'll give you 20 million for Rob Holding and 15 million for Mohamed El Neni, or, it's us buying their leftovers. Khalid said, yo, Curtis Wu and Nas concert was fire. I can imagine, bro. I can imagine it was a banger. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Let's move on. That's the Havertz talk, people. I did slightly try and give a positive spin on it there, but I'm just trying to be realistic about the fact that if we do get him, the club have to do something with him. There's no point signing him and just going, well, what are we going to do with him now? There has to be a plan. Mikel Arteta's got to be looking at him and going, okay, if we sign him, this is what we're going to do. And we have to find a way to get him closer to the Leverkusen Havertz rather than the Chelsea one. It is what it is. Anyway, let's talk about a couple other players potentially coming in. This is probably the headline news of today and the new news that we're going to be talking about today, people. So this will be the first poll of the day. And this is Romeo Lavia from Southampton. This looks as if it could be the Caicedo plan B. Miguel Delaney has put a report out today in The Independent. He's obviously talking about Declan Rice, who we're going to talk about briefly in a little while. But he said Arsenal want to sign Romeo Lavia. Arsenal are not that advanced with Lavia, but are seen as his most likely next club. Now, I'm still very disappointed that Caicedo looks as if he's going to end up at Chelsea. I'm not happy. He's a player that I would have loved to have seen come through the door. However, the club have to move. I believe we'll get Rice. I stand by that. I think we'll sign Declan Rice. I like Lavia. I do. There is an element of risk because, number one, he's a young player. Number two, he's played for a team at the bottom of the league. How will he do in a more possession-based team near the top? But I think Lavia is a very good player. It's believed he will cost around 30 to 35 million pounds. He's another former Manchester City player, by the way. Manchester City signed Lavia. He came through their youth setup and then was sold to Southampton. I believe they have a sell-on clause on that deal as well. So there is a Manchester City link. He made 29 appearances for Southampton this year. He got 9 yellow cards. So he is a little bit feisty. Only scored 1 goal. I'll be honest. I've said a lot this year that Arsenal need to get plan A's, not plan B's. However, if we were to sign Rice and Lavia, I can work with that. It's not my plan A. I won't be celebrating from the rooftops. It ain't Rice and Caicedo. But for 30-odd million quid, I would take him. He destroyed us at the Emirates. And he's 19. He's a Belgian international now. So he'll know Trossard and maybe he'll know AirPod Albert. But I think he's a fantastic young upcoming talent. And for 30-odd million pound. I mean, some of you here, Milan said he's as good as Caicedo. I mean, I don't think I've seen enough of him to say that. But he's definitely good. Guna ER still saying Krychenko out. He's a disgrace. He's not happy with him. Let's get Lavia, said Shax. Rice and Lavia beans. Yep, we'll take that. We will take that. Listen, that would represent some good business. If you could get him, you pay the big bucks for Rice. He's going to cost you 100 million. But if you can get Lavia in for 30 million quid, all of a sudden you're going, right, we got Rice, we got Lavia, we got Partey. Obviously, you still got Jorginho, who's not the best, but he's decent, you know, in possession. That's 4 much better options than the ones that we've had over recent years. Ilno Castagna, no, we don't want that. Rice, Havertz, Cancelo and Lavia. I mean, beggars can't be choosers. If you offered me them 4 now, I'd take it. Honestly, it's Arsenal, man. It'll probably end up looking worse than that because I don't think we'll get Cancelo. But if we do, I would take that. It's desperate times, desperate measures. African Giant said, Lavia, you said, give me 1 sec. Hey, you better relax. Todd Bowley, relax, man. You got enough. You're probably going to get Caicedo. O'Malley said, how did we go Belgium and walk away with Sambi? It's crazy, innit? They got Lavia, they got Onana, and we got Sambi Lokonga out of there. What kind of trip was that to Belgium? I really don't know. A reaction said, Lavia is Prem proven. He is good. I'd rather get Onana from Everton, said Martin. I suppose, look, I think Arsenal, and I've said before and I'll say it again, the reason for me that I never truly believed Arsenal would sign Rice and Caicedo is that I never saw Arsenal. Listen, there are rumours today with Caicedo that they want 100 million. Because now what Brighton are starting to do, and this is something that always happens, Brighton are going to sit there and go, well, if Declan Rice is worth 100 million with 2 years left on his deal, Caicedo is 21, he's younger than Rice, he signed a new 5-year contract, so he has longer on his contract. Brighton are in the Europa League. They're going to say, he's as good as Declan Rice, so we want 100 million as well. So that is the problem now. Arsenal were not going to spend 100 million on Rice and 100 million on Caicedo. Now, like Naz said, Fabrizio was saying 80 to 85 possibly might get him. And obviously Levi Colwill, who's been on loan at Brighton. Brighton are interested in him from Chelsea. So it may be a case that they give a player and cash. It's an easier deal for Chelsea. We know how Arsenal operate. We know how the Kroenkes operate. Did we ever truly believe that we were going to drop £200 million or £180 million on 2 centre midfielders? Unfortunately, under the Kroenke ownership, it's just not realistic. It should be, but it's not going to be. If Arsenal get Rice for 100 million, somebody like Lavia for 30 million, That's going to tick more boxes. Southampton have just been relegated. They're not going to demand the money straight away. We'll be able to get a nice payment plan. Maybe you give them a player on loan. They're cutting corners. They are cutting corners, unfortunately. If this was another club with another ownership, you get Caicedo, you get Rice. We're in a better position than Chelsea. Rice wants to come to Arsenal. Caicedo wants to come to Arsenal. A serious ownership model you would like to think would buy both, which is disappointing. From Caicedo to Lice. That's where we're at now. The Caicedo dream is gone. It's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good. Ad said, Big C, the fan base on YouTube may be young, but they seem confused on negotiation processes. Get somebody on to explain how it works to calm them, and calm the farm. Listen, I mean, I have a pretty good idea of negotiation myself from a football point of view. A much lower point, of course, but similar process. I understand lowballing, getting the first bid rejected, and you're trying to move the other club down and meet somewhere in the middle. We understand that. West Ham want £100 million for Declan Rice, right? We've offered 80 million. The problem you've got is there's a way of lowballing, right? You do it in a way that the selling club reject the offer, but they don't feel offended. They feel like you're not far away. You've tempted them, but it's not quite enough. We do it in a way that it's like, people are thinking, what are you doing? Apparently we offered 80 million over like 5 or 6 years, 10 million in add-ons if we won the Premier League or the Champions League. And West Ham are thinking, well, what are you doing here? They've already told us that they want the money over a couple of years, not 6 years, 2 years. And the 10 million to win the Prem or the Champions League is not realistic. We haven't won the Champions League ever. And we haven't won the Premier League for 20 years. So West Ham are thinking, are we ever going to see that 10 million? So that is the problem with Arsenal. The same way we messed up on Mudryk, the same way we couldn't convince Vlahovic. You know, we have to be a bit more aggressive. There's a way of doing it, you know, and Arsenal have to get closer. So let's hope they fix it. Gunnar Roller said, see, now that Brighton is asking for a minimum 100 million for Caicedo, I kind of get why we've pulled out. Food for thought. If Lavia played at Brighton, he'd look as good as Caicedo. Not sure. The same in reverse. It's a good point, but I think Caicedo is exceptional. I got to be honest. Lavia looked brilliant in a Southampton team. I suppose the thing with him is, can he make the adjustment? What I did like about Caicedo is in a team that plays a similar style of football. But I don't expect Arsenal to spend 200 million on 2 centre mids, not with this ownership. Edu will now offer 140 million over 12 years. Yeah, we'll give you 60 million in add-ons if we win the treble. How about that? We'll make it a 200 million deal, but you'll never receive most of it. 150 million on Rice, Lavia, and a centre-back. That would be sensible. 100 million on Rice, Lavia for 30, 20 on a centre-back. So, yeah, anyway, let's end the talk on Lavia. A lot of you are quite positive about him. 89% of you in the poll saying that you would take Lavia, which is very, very high. Listen. I think he's a very, very good young talent. 30 mil, I think, is a bargain. I would take the risk on him. I am disappointed we're not getting Caicedo, but it is what it is. We have to move on. We can't get caught up on what we haven't got. We've got to respond. We wanted Mudryk, we got Trossard. That was a good plan B, you know. So that's what we got to do. Get Rice, get Lavia, and then go and address other areas, hopefully. That's the way. Let's hope this guy is the next Yaya Toure, said Cliffo. Yeah, not Yaya Sanogo. Maybe we can give Sambi Lokonga to Southampton, maybe. That one would be good. John said, no one is spending 220 million on 2 centre mids. Listen, I understand. The Declan Rice deal has probably pushed up the Caicedo price, if we're being honest. So... big up to Casters, who's become a member. Big up to you. Try and get involved in the next member stream. I appreciate your support. Let's have a look. Please get a centre back. We have Kiwi, Bob, and Trusty the Process. I think we might need one. Omar said, Big C, the owners have brainwashed you into thinking you have £5 to spend. How is Chelsea, United and Liverpool all going after their targets with no issue yet? You are here counting change. The only thing I would say, though, with Liverpool, you know, they've bought a guy for 35 million. We're trying to buy someone for 100 million. It is a more difficult deal. Chelsea and United, yeah, you know, they're going to spend big again. Listen, I don't, you know me, I don't buy into the ownership and the excuses. Do I expect them to spend 200 million on Rice and Caicedo? No, I don't. But sometimes it only takes one summer of big spending and then you don't need to spend for the next few years, you know? That's the frustration. Chelsea spent £88 million on Mudryk and then spent £105 million on Enzo Fernandez. And they also bought Madueke and, is it Badiashile, the centre-back? That was in a January window. They spent £300 million in January. So people can't tell me we can't spend £300 million in a summer window, especially if we sell players and recoup some money. Scott said, name one club that would spend 200 million on 2CM. Well, I think Chelsea would. Chelsea spent 105 million on Enzo in January, and they're going to spend probably 80, 90, 100 million on Caicedo. So there's one. Sashiv said, send the link, bro. Would love to chat. Well, we'll do a show where I can get people on and maybe I'll bring people on one of the lives. Obviously, we do that on the member streams, but maybe we'll do a live one on here and do that. Anyway, let's move on. A lot of you are happy with Lavia, and I think, listen, that would be a good response to a situation we're not happy with. We would have liked to have seen Caicedo. We've all been saying Ricedo for a number of weeks, but I think Lavia would be a positive response, a cheaper option if we do have to respond, you know. Big C, why are we waiting this long to sell Xhaka? Said MX, I think we're waiting to bring Declan Rice in before we sign that deal off. And Ad said, agreed, Big C, Sullivan is an assertive negotiator who will be shook by the offer. The decision lies with Rice. Arsenal know this. Let him fix this. Well, we'll have to see. You know what? Let's talk Declan. Daily Rice, people. No carbs before mobs, they said, but we're talking about Declan Rice every day. Nizar Kinsella, who works for the Standard. Declan Rice's preference remains a move to Arsenal, with West Ham braced for an imminent 100 million bid closer to their valuation. Rice has his heart set on joining Mikel Arteta and will not encourage approaches from any of the rivals. Jason Burt put out a story yesterday that seemed very opinion-based, with no quotes or no actual facts, where he was saying they're expecting bids from other clubs imminently. It seemed to be a panic article to get the Arsenal fans to react. These guys know that Arsenal fans will go crazy more than any other club. And it seemed completely made up with no truth behind it. Listen, Man City have probably got him on a list. They have spoken to him, but they haven't sorted out the Gundogan situation yet. What I will say, Arsenal need to get this deal done sooner rather than later. I think Rice becomes one of those players that the longer he's on the market and no one's got him done, somebody will probably change their plans and go and get him. All it would take is Gundogan to say, right, I'm going Barcelona, I want a new challenge. Manchester City need a centre mid. They've got apparently 300 million to spend this summer, and then you've got a major problem on your hands. So my thing to Arsenal would be get this deal done sooner rather than later. It's believed our next offer is going to be the 100 million, right? We can't mess around. 90 million, 10 million in achievable add-ons, and I think you get this deal done. They've given their word to Declan Rice that he can leave, and he wants Arsenal. So they're willing to do business, but the business has to be right. The business has to be right. Scott said, I'm talking about in one window, Big C, not two. You're right. But I think if you need to do it in one, sometimes you've got to. Arsenal have never broken 200 million. I think we can spend 300 million in a window if we sell players and recoup some money. We don't often spend big. So listen, basically we're in a situation now. We've got to drop this £100 million offer. There were some rumours it could be today. So I'm hoping we get some breaking news maybe this afternoon, but we haven't heard anything yet. So, and listen, I know he's on international duty and things like that, but it's not difficult. You can sign players while they're on international duty. Trust me, it's not hard. And the agent would tie up most of it anyway. So, listen, we'll have to see with this one. It's a waiting game at the moment. I know, obviously, he's away with England, and England play tonight. And he'll obviously be with Saka and Ramsdale and all the Arsenal boys. So, yeah, it's one of them. But get the bid offered. Now, we'll move on from that. Declan Rice is what it is. There's nothing more that I can really say about Declan Rice. 100 million probably gets him. He wants the deal. We're talking about him every day at the moment. It's actually getting a bit boring. You just kind of want Arsenal to get the deal done and move on from it. Right, we have got a little bit of breaking news regarding Kai Havertz. And I told you, it's getting closer. Big up Costa. I've just seen it, and we'll get it on the screen. It's coming out of the Times. The Times Sport people have tweeted 4 minutes ago, Arsenal are set to submit an offer in excess of £55 million for Kai Havertz. Personal terms are not expected to be an issue. I just saw a few quotes from the article saying that Arsenal have verbally agreed personal terms with Kai Havertz. He would probably get the same wage at Arsenal that he's on at Chelsea. Arsenal, breaking news 4 minutes ago in the Times. Big up everyone who was putting it in the comments. Arsenal are set to submit a bid in excess higher than £55 million for Kai Havertz. Wow. Now, it's just honestly mind-boggling, this situation. This actually, gives me... it's crazy. It almost gives me a headache. Declan Rice is your top target. You've been chasing him. The PR's been out since January. And you lowball and offer the money in a silly manner that you knew was going to be rejected, that actually probably annoyed West Ham a little bit. Yet Kai Havertz, first offer, 55 million plus add-ons. Chelsea would probably take that straight away. No negotiate. 55 mil plus add-ons, take him. You could have got him for 20. Listen, not 20, I'm joking, but the player that we're all like, yo, we don't really know if we want him, you've gone straight in. Even if Chelsea reject that, I guarantee you'll be close to getting the deal done. This is just crazy. This is absolute. We thought Havertz was a smokescreen to maybe getting Rice and Caicedo. Rice and Caicedo were the smokescreen to get in Havertz. Listen, you guys thought I was capping a little bit earlier on in the show when I started trying to give some positives around Kai Havertz joining the football club. I'm not saying that I want him. I've said clearly that I don't want him. But what I'm saying, people, is brace yourself for Kai Havertz becoming an Arsenal player. So do whatever you need to do to cope with this. Maybe go on YouTube, type in Kai Havertz best goals or best, Bayer Leverkusen highlights. Do something to put yourself in a positive frame of mind, because trust me, it feels like this is going to happen. So I'm sending out the warning. Breaking news 5 minutes ago, Arsenal set to submit an offer in excess of £55 million for Kai Havertz. Personal terms will not be an issue. And by the way, if you do watch a YouTube video of Kai Havertz goals, it isn't going to last very long, that is for sure, especially if you watch the Chelsea ones. It may even be a YouTube short. But hey, it is what it is, man. Kai Havertz. These deals worry me when it comes to Arteta, because he will have to hit the ground running from day one. Because, and I said this the other day when I went on AFTV, I said the sad thing about Kai Havertz is that the fans won't have a lot of patience with him, because there's a negative feeling around him already. If you spent £60 million on a striker or an attacking player from Europe, never played in the Prem, highly rated, there'd be some excitement, there would be some patience. But buying Kai Havertz, who we have watched stink out the joint for 3 years. Yeah, you can talk about the winning goal Champions League final. It was a big goal. It was an important goal. I understand that. But every time I watch this guy play up front for Chelsea, I think, you've got no chance. It's not going to happen. So, listen, honestly, I tried, Russ. I spent a minute really trying to add a positive spin because I genuinely believe this deal's going to happen. So I'm trying to get you all in a frame of mind that if you very much don't want him, expect to see him in an Arsenal shirt soon. And the PR machine is going to go into overdrive. I'm just going to fall back. If we sign him, I'm going to fall back and just see how it plays out. Because there is a talent there. You just can't play him up front. You've got to find a system that gets him back in attacking midfield. Up front, he's horrendous. In attacking mid, you've got to try and unearth that Leverkusen Havertz. That's your only hope. A YouTube short, Eli. Trust me, bro. Vendrick said, the only thing I can think of is he is a Champions League player for Arsenal for experience and fresh legs. Why would he leave Chelsea's bench to sit on Arsenal's bench? There has to be a promise of first-team football if we're spending that much money and paying that much wages. Edu will say, we got a Kai, just not Caicedo. Yeah, he will. They'll say he's a world beater on social media when we get him. Big C chuck him in a square midfield. James, honestly, I've said it 3 or 4 times. 3 or 4 times. If you sign him, you play that square midfield that Pep plays. That's your only option for me. You start with the back 4. You move Zinchenko into midfield next to Rice. 2 DMs. Havertz and Odegaard. 2 attacking mids. 2 wingers, 1 striker. That's what City are doing. John Stones steps into midfield next to Rodri. And then you've got Gundogan and De Bruyne at the top. And you've got Bernardo and Grealish out wide. And the robot Haaland up top. So we got to do the same thing. So Havertz edges closer, people. Havertz edges closer, unfortunately. Or fortunately, some of you might rate him. Neil Gooner said, Curtis, happy birthday for the 24th, dude. My birthday Sunday. Appreciate that, Neil. Thank you very much. Enjoy your birthday on Father's Day as well. So big up everyone celebrating. Neil, have a great birthday. Thank you for the well wishes. Ad said it's on rice and peas. Show your loyalty. Show your loyalty, man. Why can't Arsenal buy Maddison? I like Maddison. We're not even being linked with him, are we? He could end up at Tottenham, unfortunately. They're after him with Newcastle. Oz says, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. Ridiculous bid. Like I said, you knew when your mum said that, you was in big trouble. And that's how I feel with Arsenal. Big up, Oz. Peter's become a member. Really appreciate it. Big up. Welcome to the community. O'Malley said, Chelsea's bank is Arsenal's boardroom. Need some peas, Todd? We'll provide them. We'll sign Aspilicueta next year. 5-year deal. Ad said, how do we become a member? It should be next to the subscribe button. If not, I'll get the link and throw it in the chat and pin it. So no worries with that, Ad. And Black said, where them cameras at? This AFC show is a prank. I told you. Truman Show. I'm just waiting to see Jim Carrey. Yeah, that's all we're waiting for. We just need Jim Carrey now, and we're officially in the Truman Show. Evan Ferguson is better than Havertz, said Irish Gooner. Gooner Forever said, Curtis, bro, how are we letting Chelsea raid our transfer targets and we help them fund it? It's shambolic. Dr. Barron said, I'm really starting to dislike what this club is representing, a weak, soft, and deluded mentality. Do you know what? One of the reasons that I loved Arsenal so much growing up, not just because we're a great team, it was we were an edgy football club. I felt like we had an edge to us. When I watched Arsenal, I felt like we felt a little bit different to other teams. I was like, yo, this team's got some backbone, some flavour and some edge to it, man. You know, Arsenal, and we had Wrighty, who had a personality. You had Tony Adams, who was the leader, and Bergkamp, you know. We had that attitude, Jake, man. We walked around with our chest. When I had that the JVC shirt on, man, I walked around like that, shoulders back. Yeah, I'm an Arsenal fan. What you saying? Do you know what I mean? I don't feel that with Arsenal now no more. We're soft. They grab our best players and we buy their leftovers and project. Stop all that. I don't want to hear that. I never heard that growing up. And I know I'm banging on about History Channel settings again, but the narrative has to change. They said we need Champions League to go to that next level. So don't buy players who are not going to take us to that next level. Go and buy a player that is in form, that is on the way up, that excites us, that can take us to the next level. I told you, we are not the RSPCA. We're driving around in a van collecting stray dogs. Oh, I found this dog on the street. He's got nowhere to live. He's got no lead round his neck. Don't worry, we'll take him. We'll take the little Havertz. How many times are we going to sign? Have we not learnt that signing players from Chelsea don't work? William Gallas, Yossi Benayoun, Peter Cech, David Luiz, Willian, Jorginho. Which one of them had a big career at Arsenal? Probably David Luiz had the best one. And even he wasn't great, but, you know, he ended up kind of hating Chelsea. He was a bit of a figure. He won the FA Cup. But not one of them has been a success. Every time Chelsea, they're like, look, we need to get someone off our wage bill. Give Arsenal a ring. See if they'll take him. I don't understand how we're making an offer of £55 million as a starting offer. We should have seriously lowballed on this one, but they obviously want him. They obviously really want him. Luiz was a good servant. We just didn't get him at his best, you know. Kai Havertz is a German Yaya Sanogo, said SG. BY said, love your show as a Liverpool fan, but why is Arsenal providing funds to help Chelsea? Chelsea have just had their worst season in I don't know how long. They're desperate for money, right? Which is why they haven't bought no one. And they need the money from Premier League clubs, which is why they're trying to sell Kovacic to City, Mount to United and Havertz to Arsenal. If you're going to sign a player from Chelsea right now, rip them off. Go and rip them off. Say, listen, we'll take Havertz, but you're going to have to sell him half price, bro. We don't really want him, but we know you need the cash. Don't go there and give him 55 million plus add-ons. It's crazy. But like I said, if they sign him, they need to make it work. That's all I can say. They need to make it work. I'm clutching at straws, but all I'm trying to grab onto, he was a baller at Leverkusen. He was good in the attacking midfield role. We need to unearth him. At the end of the day, this is the last thing I'm going to say on Havertz today. Mikel Arteta turned Xhaka this season into a very good player. If he can do that to Granit Xhaka, maybe he can do something with Kai Havertz. Because Kai Havertz is a far better footballer than Granit Xhaka in terms of natural ability. That's the best I can offer you. I'm really clutching at straws here. That is the absolute the best that I can offer you. And Fabrizio was confirmed as well. Official bid for Kai Havertz. Personal terms won't be an issue. The player gave a green light to Arsenal yesterday. So it's happening. Get yourself ready for it. Havertz, I don't know what number he wears, but he's going to be wearing an Arsenal shirt soon. I don't get it. Do you know what? All the other clubs should have sat there and said, you know what? Chelsea are in big trouble. They need money off the English clubs. Or everybody lowball them, and if you don't want a player, just leave them. Let them hit FFP and get into a mess. Don't throw big money at them. They don't deserve it. They don't need it. Well, they need it, but don't provide them. But let's move on. Listen, as I say, I didn't want Ramsdale. He's done well. I thought Ben White was overpriced. He's done well. If we do sign Havertz, I hope that they perform a miracle and you get the Leverkusen one. I agree with Veer, who said Havertz always looks unhappy. He never really smiles, does he? But anyway, we don't need smile merchants, to be honest. I'm not bothered if he smiles or not. Just make sure he's a damn good player. More PR people. Arsenal have moved in recent weeks and are now in pole position to sign Bayer Leverkusen's Moussa Diaby, coming out of L'Equipe in America, in France. They're not the most reliable of sources, to be honest. So if you're a big fan of Diaby, I wouldn't say get your hopes up too much. Because they throw out a lot of big stories that don't come to fruition. We know that we were linked with him in January after missing out on Mudryk. There's a report online saying that we made an offer for him at the end of the last transfer window last summer. It's believed he's willing to leave this summer. As Leverkusen, I believe, missed out on the Champions League. Let's have a look at his stats just quickly. I know last season he had a fantastic season. Last season he got 13 goals, 12 assists in the league, with another 4 in the cup. He got 17 goals, 14 assists last year. This year he's got 9 goals, 8 assists, another 3 in the Europa League, and 1 in the cup. So he got 13, no, none in the cup. He got 13 goals this season, with 9 assists. So still good numbers. I'm not even going to talk about it for too long because it's a very weak story with no facts behind it. It just sounds like the keeper just throwing out a headline that in recent weeks we're in pole position. We're Lewis Hamilton FC, people. Max Verstappen FC. We're in pole position to sign him, which means very little. We were definitely in pole position to get Mudryk and to get Caicedo, and we all know how that worked out. So yeah, a whole heap of cap. It's not even worth a poll, to be honest. So we'll move on from that one. Couple more stories to squeeze in. I'm still trying to process the fact that we're making a 55 million bid for Havertz, but it is what it is. It's happening, people. Get your head around it. Have a look at the squad numbers. What numbers are he going to take? Wow. Going to take some justifying that, but anyway, a striker that looks as if he's on his way out, people. Unfortunately, made his debut for the United States of America last night against Mexico. They won that game. He started the game. Inter Milan, Champions League finalists. Inter Milan are interested in signing Arsenal striker Folarin Balogun. They are expected to formally approach Arsenal over a potential deal. So the Champions League finalists want our young striker, and we're just going to dash him, you know, without giving him a chance in the Arsenal shirt. I think that is a real shame if we let him go, man. But if he does go to a team as big as Milan, you've got to get a good deal out of them. The problem is a lot of these Italian teams, they're struggling financially. What I'd be looking at if I was Arsenal, to be honest, is there a player that you can take off Inter? You know, I'd love to take Barella. You know, maybe you could give them Balogun and cash and get Barella. I would have took Skriniar, but I think he's going to PSG. I wouldn't want Latorre. I'd take Onana. You know, I'd try and get creative. Can you know, if they want him, I don't think they're going to have a lot of money. It's believed that Chelsea have rejected a further loan for Lukaku, and Inter can't afford to buy him on a permanent basis. So they're looking for a striker. So what would you do? How much should we be asking for? Italian clubs don't have a lot of money, some of them anyway. So is there somebody we could take in a swap deal? Is Edu about that life? I don't know. Irish Gooner said, please don't time me out, Big C, but I'd take a chance on Havertz because we could rediscover his Leverkusen form, although I would still rather give Flo the opportunity. Bro, listen, let me say one thing first of all. Disagreeing with my opinion will never get you a timeout. I have no problem debating with anybody as long as people are respectful. So you don't have to worry about that. And listen, I am trying to look at it from the same viewpoint. Well, I can't sit here for the next 2 years complaining about Havertz, or 4 years, however long. If we sign him, we've got to find a way to make it work. It's as simple as that. And I'm with you. I'd rather give Balogun a chance. But if we do get Havertz, we've got to find a way to make it work. Change the system and use him in a different manner. Reaction said Balogun was poor last night for America. Big C, who's better, Havertz up front or Holding in defence? Oh, Jason, I don't know where we go with that. Havertz up front is absolutely horrendous. Holding in defence is... Oh, jeez. They're probably as bad as each other. I mean, I give Havertz one bit of credit. He scored in the Champions League final, but it's bad. That's a bad question. But there you go. There you go. It's a great question, though, by the way. I actually don't know how to answer it. A-Man said, just seen our game back in 2021. Havertz was good as a left-sided 8 in that game. Maybe that's Mikel's idea. It was the game where Pablo Mari made Lukaku look like Drogba. Yeah, I think if Havertz comes to Arsenal, he will play behind the striker. I think you will see a change in system. I think that we know that this manager follows the blueprint of Pep. That square midfield is something that Pep has done. John Stones steps in, but I think for us it will be Zinchenko, and he will try and dominate the midfield and create overloads in there. I think he will be used as a backup option up front for Jesus, and I think you would potentially see Eddie Nketiah get sold. So, listen, Havertz, I think, is going to happen, and I think it could be the first signing, by the way, as well. I'm not happy about it, but listen, if we can rediscover the centre mid or the attacking midfielder and change the system, who knows? Let's see how it works. It is what it is, people. Treble winning tactics. If you're going to follow a blueprint, follow the one of the treble winners. And listen, I am clutching at straws, but I do think he's a better attacking midfielder than man like Fabio, that is for sure. So let's see. Let's see how it goes. If he plays him up front, forget everything I've said. I'm having absolute meltdowns. So we'll see what happens. Kai Havertz on his way to the Emirates, people. Let's hope the Declan Rice deal gets done. There was talk of an offer today. Let's see if that offer goes in. If obviously we do have a big offer accepted, I'll go live again later on. Thank you very much for tuning in. We've been live for an hour and 10 minutes. Appreciate the support. Like the video. Let's get at least 1,000 likes. Thank you for your interaction, your support. Big up the whole C unit. Enjoy your Friday. If we get a Declan Rice offer, I'll go live. If not, I will be back tomorrow. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all soon. Bless.